whole gang's here. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna call the meeting to order. I would ask at this time if we have additions to the agenda. I would ask for approval of the agenda as presented.
To approve as presented.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. The agenda is approved. This evening, we do not have any gallery presentations, so we'll move on to acknowledgements. I do have a few acknowledgements, and then I'll open things up to council to see if they have any that they would like to offer. The obvious ones certainly are Christmas and New Year, so certainly want to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of council and town staff and all the citizens of the town and also the region. And also, I would ask that council put some thought behind some memorable work that we've done as a town throughout the year. And if you could move forward a couple of items to me in the next couple of days, I would love to be able to, I guess, pass on some of the notable items we've been able to accomplish as a council for 2023. So if you would oblige me that would be wonderful. At this time, I'd also like to acknowledge Ellie Cluett, who is a 10-year-old from our community. She recently starred in a Hallmark movie that aired last Friday called Secret Gift of Christmas. She's making a big splash all across the nation, which is amazing that we have this talented, bright, young star from the town of Roxbury. So I did want to make a special note of Ellie and congratulate her in her accomplishment and wish her all the best going forward in her what I see as a blooming acting career. So we definitely want to congratulate her as a council. I'd also like to acknowledge December 3rd as International Day of Persons with Disabilities, December 6th, which is the National Day of Remembrance in Action on Violence Against Women, and December 10th, which is Human Rights Day. And lastly, I wanted to offer congratulations and thanks to Seasonal Services, who worked really hard over the last couple of months raising monies and then assembling food hampers and then delivering this past Sunday. And we do have some members of our council that did volunteer to do that as well. 164 families were helped this year, which I think is absolutely amazing, but also speaks to the need in our community with regard to food security. So definitely on behalf of council, I would like to congratulate all of the volunteers of Seasonal Services for all the great work that they do. And without further ado, I'd ask if anyone else from council would like to make any acknowledgements this evening.
Well, Your Worship, I think you took them all. Ellie, I was going to mention Ellie. She's my next door neighbor.
Okay.
And I was going to definitely mention her, and I was definitely going to mention December 6th. I wrote up at the 14 women that were Montreal Massacre and had their names and everything here, but anyway, that's fine.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else?
No, Your Worship, I have nothing.
Okay, so we'll move on then to approval of council minutes. We have the joint public committee of the whole of November 21st, 2023. At this time, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions from those minutes. Hearing none, we have a special public meeting of November 27th, 2023. At this time, I'd ask if there are any errors or omissions of those minutes. Hearing none. Lastly, we have a special public meeting of December 7th, 2023. I would ask at this time if there are any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes. Okay, thank you. We will move on to business arising from the minutes. I would open up the floor for any discussion with regard to business arising from those three sets of minutes.
Yes, Your Worship.
Sure, Councillor McDougall.
Through you on November 21st meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see the number. I guess it's 16 X9, I guess, if my Roman numerals are right.
Okay. That's
The
okay, that's a moot point.
water testing results, I know I brought that up
Sure.
and Terry made a presentation to me, and I thank him for that. I was online, I was only getting gives and gabs of it.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, is the plan going forward to do periodically to do tests at time to time, rather, I don't expect tests every week or anything, but just periodically, is that the plan?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chiu Terry.
Yeah, so the plan is to set up the protocol for that. The bacteria levels are traditionally very low in colder weather. So that will start with the spring, so you establish a baseline, and then you judge from the baseline, and there's a very long procedure around that, but yes, we will put the procedure in place for the spring so that we can have continuous knowledge of the quality of water.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other business arising at this time?
Yes, Your Worship, through you, I'd like to ask a question of Mr. Doyle. At the December 7th meeting on the discussion around the Municipal Capital Growth Program, there was a presentation made to council regarding housing options, and then there was a presentation made around accessibility options, basically around sidewalk improvements in the town. And there was a number of streets that were identified, and in the minutes, let's see, where is all that? In the minutes, it was identified a cost of $273,713 for a number of streets that the manager of Public Works had identified for potential sidewalk improvement. And subsequent to that, I made a motion, and seconded by Deputy Mayor McIver, the town approved the submission of the application to the Municipal Capital Growth Program for accessibility improvements in the town with a dollar value not to exceed a total project value of $800,000. So I just wanted clarification because that our meeting was on, I believe it was the 7th, and the deadline was the 13th, the following Wednesday. And what we were told, if we go as councillors and we can identify potential additional projects to include in this that would come in under our contribution of $400,000, that we could do that and provide that to Public Works Manager and give an opportunity to look at costing and that and see what we could add. And we did that because we know there's a lot of sidewalks that have to be completed. We know that's going to come up in our budget talks again next spring. This whole conversation about this program and what had to do with the housing initially was the projects that were being contemplated were too rich for our coffers. And so then the secondary option was to address the sidewalk issue. So I'm disappointed to see that what was submitted was actually the same as what was presented to us at the meeting on December 7th. I did submit, I think, 4 different possible sections that could be looked at. And I'm just curious how come if we made the motion that we didn't add, and I don't know if any other councillors submitted anything or recommended anything, but I'm just asking the question for clarification.
Over to you, Terry.
Sure. So we submitted a proposal prior to December 13th for total project value of $800,000. So that's a town contribution of $400,000. So I'm not sure. Like I don't have the 2 proposals before me. There has been a report included in the Manager of Engineering Public Works submission, his report for this meeting. There is a report on the Municipal Capital Growth Program submission. So I'm not certain. I will say though, if there's adjustments that we want to make to that within that scope, that's certainly something we can consider. So we had to have a proposal in that sort of matched at that amount. And certainly there could be We could consider some adjustments. We don't have the program yet, but we could consider some adjustments that would include some streets and not others.
No, so your worship, what I have what was presented at the first meeting, I had, it was in my mailbox, and it referenced the figures from that December 7th meeting. My apologies, yes, it is in there. So I would take back the comments I made, because obviously
I was just gonna.
it was adjusted up from the original discussion at council on the December 7th.
Yeah.
So my apologies for that.
Yeah, no, I was
Nope,
gonna
good.
ask for clarification with regard to the business arising, because I thought that we did have that $800,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, any other business arising? Okay, we'll go forward to our in-camera session. Do we have any motions coming forward from in-camera this evening?
No, your worship, there's no motion coming forward from the King.
Okay, thank you. Council reports on assigned committees, and just as a quick note to council, when I have my committee of the whole report completed, I will circulate that to council hopefully before the end of the week. But we will open up the floor for any updates. We'll start with Councilor or Deputy Mayor McIver.
Through you, your worship, pretty quiet since we had our last meeting for me.
That's not bad news.
No, we have several meetings scheduled for January.
Makes
Police
sense.
advisory, waterfront,
Joint part.
joint park. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Coyne.
I attended the Eastern District Planning Commission meeting, Straight Richmond Housing Coalition, and the Cape Breton Lib held a meeting here at the Civic Center.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Over to you, Councilor Corey.
Your worship, I attended the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on the 13th of December.
And over to you, Councilor
I think the last meeting I was also my advisory, and we have a police meeting coming up on the 16th and
of January, or this month? No, next month. Got it. It hasn't
and
happened yet.
I think we went through the Wall of Fame stuff at our last meeting.
Yeah, we did.
So, no, that's good.
All right, thank you, council. We'll move on to CAO reports. Over to you, Terry.
Yes, your worship, because this is a combined meeting, we typically don't go through each report, just hit on a couple of highlights. Great to see that sidewalk getting in just in time when the active transportation
Looks great.
projects, so work on Old Sydney Road and work in Tamarack occurring. And being completed to a fairly good standard. I would just say that we'll have to be back in the spring. You see some asphalt that was put in temporarily. Just so you know, if people ask, we'll be coming back and there'll be milling and cuts, and that'll be cleaned up, but difficult to do right now. This company does own their own asphalt plant. It's still possible to do that now, but we're expecting that to occur in the spring. See the new art piece that was installed in Sunset Park. We've shared that with council, and the small kiosk buildings have arrived and are on site. There'll be some adjustments to location, but it'll be in that general area, and we'll put in utilities in the spring to service those buildings. Just a lot of very positive comments about our Christmas parade. See Santa and his elves in there.
I think I know Santa too.
Catherine Zeal. Very popular programming leading up to that, including sensory, the sensory Santa, yeah, Christmas, as well as our normal turnout prior to the parade. Something that we seem to continuously get better because of our staff, and it's we get extremely great comments. Really busy concert schedule this year, and just wanted to make note of that because of that. Again, hearing lots of very positive comments about the quality of acts and filling up this building on on a regular basis. So three major concerts that had occurred this season. And just a reminder, New Year's Eve, first night celebration happening on New Year's Eve with all kinds of activities for young and old that will occur then, and another activity where we attract people from all over the region, and looking forward to that happening.
Okay, thank you so much, Terry. Any questions or comments from council?
Through your worship, just you mentioned the Christmas parade. It was really nice, and it was something to see, I guess, the little ones, how excited they were.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was in the last float, and one little one had drew a picture, and she was screaming at Santa that she drew it for her. And our staff member went and picked it and gave it to Santa.
Oh, that's so cute.
So it was really nice to see that. Very exciting for the kids. And they were from all over the region,
Mm-hmm.
like far as down Nabo.
That's amazing.
They had their kids here. So it was really nice.
Well, that's, definitely on behalf of council, pass on our congratulations to staff. They do continue to exceed expectations on all these events. So it's definitely due to their hard work and dedication. So we definitely appreciate it as a council.
And your worship, I just would make note of the fact that I think it's a real positive step that the number of wonderful programs, shows that are being, as Terry mentioned, here in the Civic Center now, and I've had a lot of positive comments about it myself, so just it's very good to see that happening.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't also ask our sitting members of the Waterfront Development Advisory Committee to pass on congratulations for those accomplishments that we've seen down at the waterfront. Lots of positive comments in the community around the new art piece, and just really like some excitement about what's going to be going in the buildings down on the waterfront. So thank you so much for all the great work that you do. It's not gone unnoticed in our community, so if you could please pass on congratulations to all the members of the Waterfront Development Advisory Committee. We appreciate the work you're doing.
Can do.
Your worship. Through you, I think we should congratulate our chair of the waterfront, Deputy Mayor McIver, for all the hard work he does.
Good job, Deputy.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you. It was kind of a distance for me to be able to do that, so I appreciate you doing that for me.
Yes,
Councillor
thank you,
Point.
Councillor Point.
Okay, so if there's no other questions or comments for Terry, everybody's good? Okay, we'll move on to correspondence. As you'll all note, we did have 3 correspondence items in the agenda package. The first one is from Autism Nova Scotia, and they have put forward an in-kind request, but perhaps we'll pass things over to Terry just to give us a little more detail on that.
Sure. So we have a request from Autism Nova Scotia Strait Area Chamber, which has a wide catchment area, which also includes Antigonish, Inverness, and Richmond counties. The Strait Area chapter is asking for the donation of the Bearhead Room for a concert activity, a fundraising activity that they wish to put on with a potential date of February 3rd, 2024. The letter does indicate some of the great work that this association does.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so the request is for the donation of the rental cost of the Bearhead Room for this concert event.
Thank you, Terry. The first question I would have is whether or not that venue is available at that time. Do you know?
I didn't confirm that prior to the meeting,
Sure.
Mayor, but I will confirm that, but I'm fairly certain that
I think you can go on.
that has to be checked.
Yeah, I think Melissa may be checking. But while that's being checked, I would ask, open up the floor for any discussion.
I'll put a motion on the table.
Thank you.
And second the motion?
So we do-
Venue's available.
Okay, perfect. So the venue is available. Thank you, Michelle.
Question.
Okay. So if there's no discussion, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The motion is approved. Is there anything else on that, on that correspondence that we need to cover?
No, your worship.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next letter, which is from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Over to you, Carrie, on that. It's just for information.
For information, that you've received this in your package, it's with respect to the request that we've put forward to consider including high-density residential developments in the development zone process. The letter is fairly self-explanatory. It talks about legislation that has to be put in place in order for this to move forward.
Yeah, it does,
We're happy
the
with that.
letter does make note of the interesting part of the MGA, subsection 57.4, that does seem to provide some wiggle room or provisions and flexibility for municipalities around affordable housing with private sector developers. So it might not be a bad idea to kind of understand those parameters a little bit more readily, so that, you know, if there is that opportunity to look at potential partnerships in the future, we will be well versed on that part of the MGA. Any other questions or comments with regard to that correspondence?
Just one comment, your worship. Thanks staff for getting the letter off, and I feel this is a very positive response.
Mhm.
I was impressed that we got a response as quick as we did
It was
this
very
time.
One second.
However, I feel it's a very positive response.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll move on to the final correspondence, which is from Straight Richmond Minor Hockey. It's a tournament request, and I believe, Aaron, it comes in every year. It's a usual request that we get.
Yeah,
Minor
we've
Hockey.
received it the last number of years. Just, do you want me to speak to it?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, just so you have a budget in front of you. I think that was part of your package. We did also ask for the financial results of the previous tournament from last year, just to kind of see what the actuals were in comparison to budget. So they did have a more successful year last year than anticipated, with a $12,500 surplus at the end of the year, based on additional sponsorships that they had garnered. And I did reach out to Richmond County to find out if they were supporting, because typically we've tried to match the Richmond County contribution. When this started, I guess that's what we did, and they're funding $1,000, and they've done that the last couple of years. I think they doubled up last year, because there was a COVID year maybe where the tournament didn't happen. So just some additional information in addition to what you have in your package.
Okay, thank you. So I guess for council consideration, with regard to that matching with Richmond, they confirmed that they are contributing $1,000 this year.
Yes.
For the upcoming year. What
I think it
is,
starts December, I think.
Christmas break.
right, so what's the wishes of council with regard to the request?
We traditionally match it, so.
That's how we started. I think we've been providing more in the last couple of years over and above what Richmond has provided. But when this began, and this is the first year I think we've gotten the actuals as well. So just based on, I think, having a surplus from the previous year. And if their sponsorship efforts, the budget you're seeing doesn't include their sponsorship that they would receive and probably are asking for again. So $1,000 may be appropriate. And then we can look at it again next year and see how they do in this year, if the event is larger than it was last year, more costly, and maybe the sponsorship isn't where they would like it to be, and then continue to evaluate it after that.
Thank you, Aaron. What's the wishes of council?
Yes, your worship, through you,
Councilor, sorry.
habits are hard to break. I know we discussed this during budget times. I know we didn't make a decision, or was the decision to wait until we've seen their budget?
You mean for,
for
this
funding.
was not allocated during budget
No,
time?
but I think we discussed it. It was there, and then I think we waited until,
Because we didn't, I think we overspent our budget, so for
well,
because
that's
of
not
all
like
the
us.
contributions for all the contributions, so we don't, I
Oh,
think
no.
we've allocated primarily all of our donation budget, so this would be over and above that. And we didn't have the room to include it at budget time, and we said we'd address it when it came in.
Yeah, okay, yes, that's what I understand. So it came in, so we're addressing it. So,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so what's the wishes of council? Would you like to put a motion for discussion?
I would move to donate 1,000 and revisit it next year.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Discussion, yes, question for you,
Okay,
to Aaron. Can you repeat what they profited last year?
So the revenue less expenses was positive $12,500 based on additional sponsorship that they had received.
So they made 12,500 and they're asking for 2,000 each again this year?
according to the correspondence, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a hard time giving money to an organization that's making enough money.
So I think the expectation is that there'd be more teams and more costs this
So-
year. And
Already one division has been canceled.
we can ask for more information if you'd like, or,
If, my opinion, and I support minor hockey, but my opinion is that if they're making $10,000 or $12,000 a year, they don't need to be coming to the municipalities for money.
Could it be, well, you could make an amendment contingent on a shortfall. I don't know.
I'll make an amendment to the motion that to see if they do have a profitable tournament. And if they have a shortfall, then we can give the $1,000.
Okay, so
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, so we have an amendment to adjust the main motion that puts a contingency on a $1,000 donation, that once their term concludes, if they have a shortfall, that they can remit for that $1,000 donation. Does that summarize the
Absolutely.
amendment?
What do you say?
Any discussion on the amendment?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called on the amendment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, so our new main motion is a $1,000 donation contingent on post tournament. If they have a shortfall, they can remit for that $1,000 donation with their financials.
Great.
Okay, so we do have a new main motion. What is the wishes of council? Any other discussion on that? Okay.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Okay, the motion is approved. I think that concludes all of our correspondence. Nothing else remaining on that?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, so we'll bypass agenda item 12. We do not have any proclamations or resolutions this evening. We'll move on to other business. And the first item is council expenses. And I just wanted to just relay to council that an apology, I wasn't able to get my MRC, my Marine Renewables Canada travel expenses in on time, so I apologize. So you will note that once that is processed, that amount will be adjusted, not only on this document, but also online when it does go online. So I just wanted to make a note of that for the benefit of council. But over to you, Terry.
Yes, Your Worship. So we have 2 months included this meeting. One is for the month of October, and there was more expenses brought forward. So there's an adjustment there. So the total revised expense for the month of October is $2,918.09. Again, the spreadsheet expenses for councilors, mayor, councilors, and CAO is posted on our website. And we also have the month of November And the expenses for the month of November recorded to date.
We just lost our, oh,
There we
there it
go.
is.
Oh,
It's back.
sorry.
It's all good.
Recorded to date is $3,721.11.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Great, we'll move on to 2024 municipal election. So I'll hand things over to Terry. You've all received the staff report. Terry, over to you.
Yeah, so staff is not looking for a decision tonight. What we're doing is just giving you information that's been collected primarily by Melissa. We've looked at some reports that have been done by other municipalities, and we've put that together in the form of a staff report. So we've looked at, so there will have to be decision as if you remember, our bylaw was for one election. So we have to create a new bylaw for this election and determine if we sort of three options. Do we go back to all paper? Do we include a electronic and telephone voting system plus ballots, or do we move to the electronic system only? What we're finding is that most municipalities have moved to or are moving to the electronic and telephone voting system only. So the information is there for your review. Just note from which we reported on before, total number of names on the final voter list for 2020 election was 2,602. Total number of electors who voted was 1,901. Total number of electors who voted, 74% voted by internet or telephone. The election had a 73% voter turnout compared with 45% in the special election 2018, 54% in 2016, and there was a larger turnout in 2012, 70%. Anyway, so I would go through all of that, so I leave that with you, and we'll bring that forth. We have a few months to deal with this, so just giving you as much information up front for consideration before you decide on which voting method you wish to choose.
Any questions at this time based on the information that's been presented thus far?
No.
Do you require any reading activity between Christmas and New Year's, by all means? So Terry, any comments on this excellent staff report? Great work, Melissa. Thank you for that.
24th and 25th. I'll respond.
Good for you.
Can't wait. Make sure you CC me.
11:30 p.m.
Okay, we'll move on to recommendations from Planning Advisory Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So there's a ton of work here that we'll go through, and so the recommendation from Planning Advisory Committee, but it's also from this council who's reviewed the actual bylaw with respect to Commercial Development Support Program bylaw. Before we have the motion, Aaron has prepared this bylaw, has been working on this for quite some time. I thought this is what we're asking for is first reading this evening. So Aaron's just going to summarize or where we're at with first reading, where we've left this, what we've done, and what is in that bylaw now is what you've seen prior to this. So over to Aaron, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yeah, this bylaw you would have seen, I think it was sent to you initially on November 21st. It was reviewed in its current state, primarily its current state at the Planning Advisory Committee with council on November 21st, just looking for some feedback and some considerations. And we reviewed again on December 7th at the special public meeting. Just some potential adjustments to the bylaw before first reading so that we were fully prepared, because it's a significant bylaw and something that we want to make sure we take appropriate time in reviewing. And at that December 7th meeting, we confirmed that we were comfortable with the 10-year length of time for businesses to be eligible for support, and then at the maximum of the 50% tax rebate. But we did discuss a reduction to the size of the area that those buildings or expansions can occur within, which is kind of the block around the Civic Center. So the CRBS property to Reynolds Street and up on the other side of the shopping center. So just kind of, which is an area that I think is more appropriate as the intention of this legislation was to encourage development in areas where we haven't been seeing development. So I think that is an area where, in particular the CRBS property and some other properties that we have, we've been looking to develop, and this potentially could spur on that development, which was the intent of the legislation. So this is the bylaw that you would have seen, also included in it, and I think Terry's going to go through the amendment to the commercial development district, which is an appendix to this. So that appendix is now included, which includes the commercial development district, which Terry will go through, and that was discussed at the Planning Advisory Committee, as well a copy of the contract that would have to be signed with the municipality by businesses that will be benefiting from this development support program. So this is a standard contract that's been amended slightly for our specific bylaw, but it is one that's been used as part of bylaws across the province. So similar to the one you'd see in CDRM or Amherst or Glenwood. So that is also part of this. And so any questions on that, or is there anything else that you'd like me to discuss further or go into in a little more detail?
Thank you, Erin.
Clear.
Good.
Good, Terry?
So is there a motion?
Yeah, we have a draft motion that the town of Port Hawkesbury approve first reading of the Commercial Development Support Program bylaw and schedule a public hearing on January 23rd at 5 p.m.
And just one thing, it's the Commercial Development District Support Program.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will make sure that we amend
As amended.
that. So what is the wishes of council?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coyne. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Question.
The question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, the first reading motion as presented with the one amendment is approved. Anything else on this item?
So, Your Worship, as Aaron indicated, there's kind of two components. One is a new bylaw that enables us for this tax incentive to occur. The other one is changes to the municipal planning strategy and the land use bylaw. So, which is what we'll talk about next. So, just as an explanation, if you look at the hatched area, can you see the hatched area on the drawing?
Yeah.
So you see the hatched area, this is the development zone. What's not included is it's all areas, but not included is the institutional area. So the other component of that, which will be included in this in this amendment to the municipal planning strategy and bylaw, is that we're changing the zoning and designation in the municipal planning strategy of the properties that surround the old arena and the curling club from open to C5, which is the same as the adjoining properties and the properties on Reeve Street. I'll just mention the date of we'll have, what we're proposing is 3 public hearings that'll happen at the same time, and it'll be prior to our committee of whole meeting. So we go into a public hearing, and then a special meeting of council, and then into committee of whole on that date. And that's how the timing will go because of advertising. So again, so these are just the drawings that are directly associated. This one with the municipal planning strategy, just changing, or I'm sorry, from the bylaws, just changing from those green spaces that are boxed out from open to C5. This is what is a very long motion for consideration. Because we're dealing with two documents and we're dealing with the rezoning of those three properties at the same time. That the town of Port Hawkesbury approve first reading and schedule a public hearing on January 23rd at 5 p.m. regarding approving proposed amendments to the Port Hawkesbury land use bylaw and the municipal planning strategy to create a commercial development zone, a district, CDD, overlay to enable the implementation of the commercial assessment phase-in bylaw, CAPB, and to permit mixed-use residential units above ground floor commercial uses in the commercial Main Street C5 zone. And two, the proposed redesignation of PIDs 50157486 and 50155 and 50155 from open space designation to downtown designation, and concurrently rezone the properties from open space 01 to commercial Main Street C5.
Thank you. So there's a motion for consideration of council. What is the wishes of council?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Councillor Point.
Through you to Terry. Did we get clarification on the old arena? Whether,
So yeah, through you, Your Worship, we don't have definite proof that there isn't conditions on that lease, but we're waiting for that. But the change in the zoning will still allow us to move forward with that. We'd only be able to, if there is conditions on the lease, not on the lease, but on the from the previous sale of land, then that would be a condition of sale for the property. So we're still able to rezone the property, but when we sell it, there would be a condition of sale that any kind of encumbrances would have to be released prior to the sale of the property.
Any follow-up questions or comments from
no, that's
council?
good, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, the motion carries.
So two other pieces of land that we want to make available for housing moving forward. The first is with respect to Prince Street. So just to christen the ground here, this is Prince Street, what we consider Prince Street Park. This is the area above that, on top of the hill. This is Shalom House. And this is the property that we're looking to designate as from open to R2. So it would become the same designation as the neighboring properties to enable us to provide service land for housing initiatives. So we're also cleaning up some things that had occurred in the past. So there is still, Shalom House is actually located on land that was zoned as open. So there's an issue that has to be cleaned up with respect to the planning, municipal planning strategy with respect to that piece of land. So it's a housekeeping item.
Perfect.
So yeah, again, dealing with the two documents, this is just telling us we're changing that piece of property that's indicated, that's hatched from 01 to R2. This is the motion for consideration that the town of Port Hawkesbury approve first reading and schedule a public hearing on January 23rd at 5 p.m. regarding the approving proposed amendments to the Port Hawkesbury land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy to redesignate a portion of PID 50113745 and 501563132 and the entirety of PID 500293662 from open space residential and the rezoning of a portion of PID 50113745 from recreation open space to residential 2 unit, which is R2.
Motion moved.
Do we have a seconder?
Second the motion.
Okay, the motion has a mover and a seconder. Any discussion on the motion?
Question.
One question, your worship.
Yeah,
Through you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
This is, was a recommendation of the Plan Advisory Committee, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion passes.
And the third amendment is with respect to McLeod Avenue. Again, so we see there's the property in question. This is Reeve Street. This is McDonald Street, the end of McLeod Street. And so the property in question is this piece of property as outlined here. And we wish to change that from open, from a zoning of open space to a zoning of C5, which is the designation of Reeve Street. So again, like we dealt with in the, with respect to the Prince Street property, there's some areas that we have to clean up with respect to the municipal planning strategy. And that's the portion of the trailer court, which should be changed to R4. And there's some housing lots on the other side of Reeve Street that should be changed to R2 to be in compliance with the zoning. Again, these are housekeeping items. The discussion started around rezoning of the property I had indicated, and the other issues are from recommendations from planning to do some housekeeping items. So this is the motion for consideration that the town of Hawkesbury approve first reading and schedule a public hearing on January 23rd at 5 p.m. regarding approving proposed amendments to the Port Hawkesbury Land Use Bylaw and Municipal Planning Strategy to redesignate PID 5074382 McLeod Avenue, Port Hawkesbury, from open space designation to downtown designation, and concurrently rezone the property from open space 01 to commercial Main Street C5, and 2, redesignate a portion of PID 502723939 and the entirety of PID 5027247, PID 501278885, PID 503-16686, and PID 503-16678 from open space to residential.
Thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, it's been moved. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? The motion passes. Does that concludes recommendations from planning advisory?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we'll move on to wastewater treatment vehicle lease buyout.
Thank you, Your Worship. So one of our vehicles is a 2020 Ford F-150 that's used as a service truck for wastewater treatment facilities and by the staff. And that lease is up the end of the year. And so we looked at options of buying out that lease, leasing a new vehicle, looking at a new vehicle and financing it. But just looking at those options and looking at, we bought this in 2019, or we entered into this arrangement in 2019 before COVID. We know cost of vehicles has increased significantly since that time. Interest rates have grown significantly since that time. the rebates that were available to us when we entered into the lease were better than the rebates that are available now. So significantly more expensive to lease a vehicle now. In discussions with the staff that use the vehicle, there's about 50,000 kilometers on it. It's a truck that's serviced regularly, and it's not used for plowing or, so it's in good shape. So the buyout option on that is $20,425 plus tax, and there's options to extend warranty on that as well for up to 3 years for less than $3,000. So just based on the information that we've looked at and the options that are available to us, we're recommending that we buy out this lease and use the capital reserve to do that. Yeah, any questions on that or any more detail you'd like?
Any questions for Aaron? Yeah, go ahead.
Just
Councillor.
one. I agree with the buyout. I just did the same thing, but with the warranty. There should be a warranty on it now for 5 years, is there?
It was four
It was
years.
4, and you had it for how long? 3?
So no, it was a 4-year lease that we had.
And a 4-year warranty also?
Yeah, it would have been, yeah. We can extend the warranty, so I'm not sure, we can extend it for 1 year over and above what's left on it, I'm not sure what the balance is, or up to 3 years. And the pricing difference in that is less than $1,000 to extend it 1 versus 3, so I think we're looking to extend it to 3 years, especially with the kilometers that are on that. And the
Yeah, it must be different than mine. I had a 3-year lease but a 5-year warranty. But they wanted to sell me the warranty, but I didn't really need the warranty because I still had the warranty up for 5 years.
Right.
So if you're buying
Yes, your
something-
vehicle will be different.
So with regard to the recommendation coming forward from staff, what is the wishes of council?
I would move to purchase the truck.
I have a motion if you want me to read it.
Yes,
If
please
there's no
do.
question on it. Sorry, I didn't get it in the slides, but the motion would be to approve the lease buyout of the 2024 F-150 water wastewater service truck via transfer from the capital reserve not to exceed $25,000, which includes the HST.
So it's been moved and seconded by Councilor
Question.
Pico. Question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion is approved. Anything
No,
remaining on
thank
that
you,
item?
that's great.
So we don't have any approved additions this evening, so we will review our future meetings. So we do have our next public meeting in the new year on January 9th, followed by committee of the whole January 23rd. At this time, I would ask if there are any questions from any members online or here in the gallery. And Jay, you're the only one here in the gallery, with the exception of Adam, who's kind of off to the side gallery. And of course, here is the public question period guidelines. So at this time, if anyone does have any questions with regard to any of our agenda items, now is the time to ask those questions. Okay, so hearing none at this time, I would ask for a motion of adjournment.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year, all that jazz.
Very prosperous New Year.